Welcome back. Well, the polls consistently rate Brad Wall as Canada's most popular premier and his province of Saskatchewan as the country's economic workhorse. I spoke to him earlier today about trade, pipelines, and yes, a certain senator who hails from Wadena, Saskatchewan. Here it is. Brad Wall, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much.
Tell me a little bit about this EU deal. It's been dwarfed by other things, as you know, in Ottawa. Saskatchewan stands to be perhaps the biggest beneficiary of it, doesn't it?
Well, one of them. It's very good for the country, but we think there's about $1.3 billion in additional agricultural sales that can come from this agreement, this greater access to the European Union market. And we've got about 40% of the arable acres in the country, second largest beef herd, so we will benefit disproportionately on that front. Here's another lesser known part of the deal that's very important to us and something the Prime Minister moved on at our request, for which we're grateful. He included something called NROP, or the removal of NROP in the trade deal. That's the non-resident ownership provisions in uranium that restrict foreign investment in our uranium industry. So this could mean about $2 billion for us. Companies like Rio Tinto or Areva, a state-owned company from France, can now own all of their own mine. They don't need a majority Canadian partner. So this is good.
See, I always think of you as the guy that fended off a foreign takeover of potash. So is there an inconsistency here?
We're in favor of foreign direct investment, but that one, as we said, you can be free. You can be a free trading nation and on occasion say, look, we've got 45% of this one resource in one company. The answer on this one might be a little bit different. That was the potash situation.
Okay, let's not deviate from the script here. Let's talk about beef, though, because we heard how the quotas really went way up, and the tariffs are obviously way down going in there. How big is that? What's that mean to the herds of Saskatchewan and Alberta? And
again, it's hard to sort of break out the beef number, but I've seen 500, 600 million of that 1.3 billion in additional agriculture. So almost half of that could be beef. It is a big deal for us, and for those that are raising bison, which is becoming more and more popular. Big progress there, and pork as well.
Wow, but you're also keeping an eye on the Asian market and China. Now, some people say Harper hasn't paid enough attention to that. He's been too fixated on Europe. What's your take on where we should be putting our priorities?
Well, our message the last few days here in Ottawa and in Toronto has been this: if you like the EU deal, you'd love freer trade with Asia, because the EU is forecast to actually be declining in population by 2025. The Asian GDP will grow at twice the rate of as the EU up until 2018. So, Wayne Gretzky used to say, I would go to where the puck's going to be. The puck's going to be in Asia. It's there already in terms of our economy, and rather than just repeating what Wayne Gretzky says, we should actually maybe follow his advice. And so that does mean a greater focus. We have no free trade agreements in Asia. The government, to its credit, is moving now again with respect to Korea. Actually, they've been pretty aggressive, I think, on that file. Japan as well. We've said we need a free trade deal with ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Saskatchewan has about 30% of the Canadian exports that go to that region. 6% growth in GDP, large population, includes Indonesia, the Philippines, and so we do need to focus on Asia, not just in terms of trade agreements, but our strategic approach to those markets.
So you're also talking pipelines with New Brunswick Premier David Alward. I'm just curious, like the East-West project, but you're also not that optimistic about Keystone. Why not?
The President did an interview with the New York Times this summer where he started to discount the economic impact of the pipeline. This was news. I think we understood there were some environmental issues the President was dealing with respect to the pipeline, but I thought that the economic argument around the pipipeline had been made.
A no-brainer, as someone
on the left by trade unions being made, on the right by those who wanted to move energy across. And so when he started doing that, I thought, well, is this setting us up for disappointment? And so if I was a 7 on the optimism scale before, I'm 4, maybe 4 or 3.
Kind of makes that East-West or West-East pipeline all the more important.
It is crucial for a couple of reasons. Self-interest disclosed Saskatchewan oil will be in that pipeline.
Exactly.
We were in favor of the other ones for general reasons, but it's important for us. It'll mean economic opportunity and pipeline capacity easing, but also cheaper energy, frankly, for the East Coast. And a chance to get to Tidewater. If we get to Tidewater, we can actually get value for this resource that Canadians own.
And if you don't,
differential, well, then we'll be discounting our oil, the difference between Brent and West Texas.
I can't let you go without asking you about Pamela Wallin. She's the senator for Saskatchewan. She's up for being suspended without pay. Do you think that's a legitimate move by the government?
I think Canadians expect that if there's money inappropriately expenses inappropriately incurred, and then covered by the taxpayers or in any workplace, that there ought to be consequences. There might be even, justice system related consequences, fair enough, legal consequences. There should also be workplace consequences. What those should be, suspension or not, or I wouldn't get into that, that's up to the Senate to decide. But I think Canadians expect some measure of consequence for these sorts of things if there's been an impropriety.
Can't hurt your advocacy, if you will, for abolishing the place, though.
It doesn't hurt it, I don't think. We came to our position to abolish the Senate. We were originally wanting to reform it, start by electing senators, and slowly we've come to the position of abolition well before the scandal broke. But certainly I think there's momentum right across the country. Canadians can see a life after the Senate. I think they understand that unicameral governments work well in the provinces, and we could use the $100 million a year for Habitat for Humanity or something else.
Okay. Well, final question. Can Saskatchewan Roughriders win the game this weekend and get to the Grey Cup?
Well, they play Edmonton this weekend, so I'm pretty hopeful about that. And, of course, I have to say, on behalf of Rider Nation, we'll be in the Grey Cup, and it'll be green that hoists it.
My producer Stephanie's happy to hear that. All right. Thanks, Brad Wall. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Don.